The Harlem Renaissance by Destiny Malo. The Harlem Renaissance happened from around 1918 to the mid 1930s. It originated in Harlem, a neighborhood in Manhattan that became a cultural hotspot. Artists, musicians, writers, and other creators produced groundbreaking work, and it was about celebrating Black identity, no longer being defined by stereotypes forced on them by society. It was called a Renaissance because it truly was a rebirth of Black culture, and it was the first time that African American creativity was nationally and internationally recognized. It challenged the racist ideas that Black people were intellectually or artistically of lower value, and the movement helped pave the way for civil rights activism. It proved that Black voices belonged in the aspects of all American life: literature, theater, music, and politics. Langston Hughes played a significant role in this movement. His writing captured the everyday Black experience with honesty and pride. He was deeply influenced by jazz, blues, and rhythms of Black music, and you can almost hear the music in his poetry. He was born in Joplin, Missouri. He took pride in Black culture and identity, and he had hope and resilience in the face of racism and hardship. He also showed the beauty and pain of everyday Black life, dreaming of a better future. He rejected the idea that Black artists had to make their work acceptable to white audiences, and he encouraged Black artists to embrace their roots proudly. Claude McKay, another significant role, was a Jamaican-born poet and novelist. His writing was a mix of Caribbean culture and American racial politics. He was famous for blending traditional poetry styles like Shakespearean sonnet with radical political messages. He was one of the first major voices to express anger and defiance toward racism openly in his work. In his early life, he was exposed to English literature and British schooling early on. He moved to the U.S. in 1912 to study at the Tuskegee Institute and Kansas State University. He lived all around the world, and his themes in his work was resistance to racism and racial pride. He had dignity and defiance in the face of oppression, love for Black culture, but also a critical view of colonialism and economic justice. And one of his famous works, If We Must Die, published in 1919, was written in response to the Red Summer of race riots, a call to fight back with dignity. McKay showed that Black resistance could be beautiful and poetic, and he influenced writers both inside and outside the Black community, including later civil rights activists. His boldness paved the way for the Harlem Renaissance to be about both beauty and protest, a spark to a better future. The Great Migration was a mass migration that was the continuing racial violence, including lynching and racial massacres that targeted Southern Black people, as well as the return of the Ku Klux Klan. It was a pattern of white on black violence that occurred in 1919 throughout the United States. One of the bloodiest incidents occurred in Elaine, Arkansas, where it is estimated that over 100 African Americans were killed. This event was known as the Elaine Massacre of 1919. In response to this horrendous event, Claude McKay responds with If We Must Die, a sonnet demanding dignity and resistance. This poem becomes a rallying cry and helps set the tone of boldness for the Harlem Renaissance. The Crisis, edited by W.E.B. Du Bois, begins publishing Black poets and writers. Harlem starts drawing in artists, thinkers, and performers from all over the U.S. and the Caribbean. The Cultural Bloom. Langston Hughes' poem, published in 1921, is a powerful reflection on the deep and enduring history of Black people. The speaker connects his soul to ancient rivers, symbolizing the strength, resilience, and rich heritage of African and African American people throughout the time. The poem references rivers like the Euphrates, Congo, Nile, and Mississippi, which are associated with ancient civilizations and significant historical events. The poem suggests that, like rivers, the Black soul has flowed throughout time, witnessing and withstanding the tides of history. Hughes expresses pride in the rich cultural and historical contributions of Black people. One of the first major poetry collections of the Harlem Renaissance explores racial struggles, Black beauty, and life in Harlem. Claude McKay's poem, Harlem Shadows, describes what he sees while walking through Harlem at night, specifically young black women working as sex workers. He watches them moving throughout the shadows of the city, and it fills him with sadness, anger, and deep respect. He's angry at the world that failed them. The racism The poem blames racism, poverty, and society for putting these young women in this position. He believes that they deserve better, and it hurts that their lives are full of struggle. Alan Locke's book, published in 1925, was seen as a declaration of independence for the Harlem Renaissance. In their old ways, black people were seen as victims, silenced, oppressed, and defined by slavery and racism. In the new way, they are confident, educated, artistic, and proud of their identity. They're creating, leading, and speaking up for themselves. Locke believed that art, poetry, music, and writing could help change how black people were viewed in society. The Harlem Renaissance was more than just entertainment. It was about using culture to fight racism. An everlasting legacy. Home to Harlem was the first best-selling novel by a black author in the US. It follows a soldier who returns home after World War I and explores life in Harlem. It was raw, realistic, showing both the energy and the hardship of Harlem life. It showed that black literature could reach a wide audience, even in mainstreaming public. By the 1930s, the Harlem Renaissance was shifting. The Great Depression made it harder for artists to thrive, and Harlem's energy turned from art to activism. But the ideas, pride, and voices that were born during the Renaissance never disappeared. They only evolved.